take-home tip for an instructional designer. When you're doing an audience analysis, find out what they believe about the change that they're going to do. What will they get if they do the change? And by the way, just to let you know, the activity that you did is kind of your toolkit to take home, because that's what we're talking about here. What do they believe they'll get? What's the result they'll get if they do the change? And how much does that matter to them? Secondly, how confident are they that they can do the change? And how ready are they to do the change? If you address their beliefs in your trainings, you can motivate action more quickly. So why don't people change? Most people think they've addressed it when it's only a surface change that they've made. And organizations do the same thing. We're going to do this, everybody's going to change, it's going to happen, and how's it going to happen if you don't change the underlying processes, causes, and conditions for what's going on? Okay.
So you're saying a government bailout to a large corporation, that's not change?
Typically,
sort of
right, no, but typically, pain is the touchstone of getting you to make changes in your life. And if it doesn't hurt badly enough, why would you do something about something that's okay? Why people don't change. Some people really don't want to. They say they do, but they don't want to. The pros of not making the change are greater than the cons of not making the change. Conversely, the pros of making the change are less than the cons of making the change. They don't want to change as much as they don't want to make the change as much as they don't want to make the change. So they don't. There are 5 stages of change. A book that you might want to read sometime, it's a good layperson's read, is called Changing for Good. One of the authors is Prochaska, Jim Prochaska, P-R-O-C-H-A-S-K-A. It's a real easy read. It's a very interesting, easy read, but it talks about the 5 stages of change. 2.5 of those stages, nobody's seeing anything happen. It's all cognitive and emotional change. But they're still changing. You cannot change unless you've dealt with the emotional and the cognitive belief level. Okay? Some people don't have the skills to make the change. And then people gear up and they try and they fail. Substance abuse, some of the more major kinds of problems, they don't, because it's just so complex. They try, but it's too big a leap. You have to break it down into smaller steps. Also, people don't understand that failure is part of the change process, and they don't know how to learn from it. And again, I'm telling you tons of stuff in a short amount of time. There's a lot of other stuff that goes with this, but this is what we're going to have to do, is just make it bullet points. And the truth is, some people want something for nothing. They want things to change, but they are not willing to put in the effort. And there is not an understanding that to change, it requires effort. So, instructional design take-home tip. If a person isn't ready to make the change, all the training in the world isn't going to get them there. Okay, now it's hard if you're working for somebody and they say, make the training so that we can make the change. That's hard because, but then you can work with them. Maybe they're not ready to make a change, you're a boss. But you can start giving them information and saying, well, if you do this, this is what you're going to get as a result. But if you do that, you'll get this result. There are processes that you can use if a person's ready to make a change or not, to move them forward and move them forward more quickly. How am I doing? Okay. So, some change principles, some baseline things. Inertia. Why is change so hard? Has anybody ever tried to make a change and, like January 2nd, I gotta go to the gym, I gotta start working out, and they go to the gym and they're working really hard, and about March 15th, it's a rainy day, and who wants to go to the gym? And about April 1st, you go, there's the gym, I remember going there. Okay? The amount of energy, maybe the 20 years of not exercising, the amount of energy behind that is stronger than the amount of energy that you've put toward making the change happen. It is a principle called inertia. It's in physics, but it is a principle for behavior change. Inertia is, if you're going in a direction You will keep going in that direction, and you will resist that change. Time to stop? Okay, got it. You will resist that change if, it will resist the change, and it will, sorry, I lost my train of thought. You will resist slowing down or going in a different direction. So what you have to do when you're trying to make a change is put a force greater than the force of the accumulated years behind you into moving you forward in a different direction, and sustain that force. Otherwise, you're going to flip back into old behaviors. And we just talked about the inertia example. Willpower is another thing. The research says willpower works just like a muscle. Okay? If you don't eat enough, your muscle's tired. Glucose, not sugar, but glucose that works in your cells. You have to eat enough to be able to have the energy to have willpower. Okay? If you do lots of reps in the gym, your muscle gets tired. But if you rest, your muscle comes back, and you strengthen it a little bit. Same principle with willpower. This is research. This came out of Florida State, Roy Baumeister. If you're using willpower a lot in one area, you'll have less in another. It's a limited resource. Yeah. Self-efficacy belief. It's the belief that you can do something specific. If you believe you can, you probably will. If you don't believe you can, you probably won't. It's a basic mama told me principle, but it's research-based. Take two identical people with the same identical background, same life, same training, everything. One believes they can, the other believes they can't on some skill. This one will, this one won't. Identical people. It's the belief. Okay. So building self-efficacy belief, this will be on the website. There are several things you can do to build the confidence or belief that someone can do it differently. Have them watch other people, teach them the process, make sure they know the process. Tell them they can do it. If you know that they have the capacity, all those kinds of things will build the belief that you can do something, and therefore probably will. If you're on the fence with ambivalence, we talked about the pros and cons. There's actually a table called decisional balance table that will help solve ambivalence. You know, the wishy-washy, I don't know if I want to do it. It's called decisional balance. It's in the Changing for Good book. Goal setting, people say, I'm going to go lose 50 pounds in 2 months, and it's too big. Basic principle, break it down into little goals that make up the big goal. It builds confidence, interest to keep going, and satisfaction with the process. 2 models, stages of change. There are 5 stages of change. 2.5, you are not going to see anything. The other 2.5, you're going to start seeing behaviors. So it's not gonna, maybe, gonna, doing it, and doing it at least 6 months. Now there are fancy terms, but that's basically it. Again, most people do lots of changing before they change, and there are 10 processes that you can use. Even if a person refuses to change, you have 4 things you can do to help them change. I'm going to go through this. Real change involves emotions and thoughts. You got to address both of them. And this PowerPoint slide that will be available talks about the different kinds of processes that you can use to make change. Give them information, tell them if you do this, this is what's going to happen. If you don't do that, this is what's going to happen. That helps them start getting off of that ambivalent point. Also have them see, I'm doing that, you're doing this, but your values are this. What's the deal? Okay. Instructional design take-home tip. How ready is your audience? Okay.